Okay, I think I'm here. I think I'm live. Good morning. You're always on time, Connor. Good to see you, Alejandro. Nice to see you. Flip. How you trained a 5-year-old to do dishes? You just sit them down and make them pick things up and run the water, and then just make it a game. Lamuel Suckhurst, welcome back to another Daily Suck It. That's a good one. I like that. Good morning. Yo, hey brother, how you doing, my man? I'm good, and you? Happy Friday, Simon. Mason Mount, proper footballer era. Yeah, I really like Mason Mount. Really like Mount. New video from my favorite channel, Time to Watch. Hiya, James. Hello, Kev. Good to see you. How are you all doing this Friday? Good morning from Dallas. How are we all doing? Big Smokey is here, my man from the islands. Ugarte shutting a lot of people up. You don't say, huh? Hoyland moving in the box was sharp. He will get goals with service. Yes, indeed. Olaje Rhodes. Hello, Lav. How was Thanksgiving? Very nice. Very calm, which was good. Pretty good. How are you? Good, Dan. DB Cooper. Hello. Yeah, hope everybody is doing well. Oh, man. Morning, Jimbo. Hope Thanksgiving was good. Thank you, Vlado. Morton. What up, James? Hello. When was the last Regista tweet about Ugarte? He tried to say something about him at the start of the game, but tends to ignore him performing well, which goes to show this is the problem with a lot of these accounts on Twitter, a lot of these full-time accounts, these football Twitter accounts that will just ignore, they're not real fans. If they were, they would acknowledge when players are playing well. How good was the turkey? Oh man, I don't want to. We had an issue with the turkey yesterday. There was something wrong with the turkey. Something wrong with the turkey that we bought, where maybe it was prepped incorrectly or something like that, because we put it in the oven for hours and hours and hours and hours, and prepped it the same way we have every year for 10 years. And a huge chunk of this turkey wouldn't cook, to where 5 hours in after cooking, it was starting to burn on certain parts. And it was all prepped correctly. And then we flipped the turkey over to cut it, and this massive chunk of it was just raw. Would not cook, would actually not cook. And we had to throw the turkey out. And it was like it was a disaster. It was a disaster. We had a lot of backup plans for this and like alternative things and stuff, but yeah, it was something wrong with that turkey. It wasn't frozen. It was just weird. I don't know what the reason was. Maybe it was the oven, maybe it was something else, but it was like this whole chunk, and the weird part was it wasn't like in the middle of this giant, like the giant like breast and chest part, it was like the leg, like this big part of the leg, the underside, in this weird like veiny area, but the whole like thick part of it was all cooked, and never had it happen before. We did buy it from somewhere new, and you never know what the reason was.Maybe it was us. It absolutely could have been us. I tried cutting it up. We have two ovens. I tried cutting it up after the first time and moving it, and then putting it in a different oven, and that same piece wouldn't cook. And at that point we were like, you know what? That's just risky. We're not going to eat anything that's had this raw turkey. So it is what it is. It is what it is. It happens. It was, it must have been an oven issue or a prep issue or something, but it just was not cooking right. We've never had that problem before. Same house, same oven for years. Never had that problem before. Everything else was fine. But it was good anyway. It was good anyway. It was good anyway. It was a good day. Ten Hag cooking method? Yeah, half-baked, right? Half-cooked turkey method. Those growth hormones help it cook better. Yeah, I kept telling my wife, I was like, you know what? It's a process. We have to keep the process. And then an hour later, she was like, you know what? Fuck the process. You're sacked. Get away from the turkey. Throw it in the trash. And then we started over with something new. And it worked out better. So, just goes to show. Just goes to show. Okay. What do we want to talk about today? What do we want to talk about today? It was an award-winning turkey. I kept saying the best turkey. Humphrey, 2 games in and we already have identified style. Totally. Absolutely, we do. We see the mount pre-assist again. She brings a better-looking Portuguese chef. Oh man, yeah. It was my one job. I spent half the day, earlier here doing a pre-match and doing a watch along for the game. And then came back and I couldn't get the turkey to finish correctly afterwards. So it's okay though. Thank God that I'm not wasn't in too much trouble for that. Did Athletic do a deal sheet? Oh, I see. That's where all the talk about Delap was. Okay. Yeah. Just looking at what Mr. Ornstein said. Yeah, we can talk about that. I got a few things I want to talk about. Wing back. Mm-hmm. 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 Come. All right. Cool. Yeah, that'll make sense. Okay. I was wondering because I saw a lot of talk about him at the start of this morning, waking up and all of that. So apparently Alphonso Davies was got drunk driving last night. The story isn't totally clear, but that would change things, I think, wouldn't it? According to Build Sport, I mean, I don't want to spread anything false, but apparently, according to Build Sport, the police stopped him at 2:15 in the morning in Munich, slightly drunk in his Lamborghini. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Does anybody know what that means? I don't know what the laws are like, in Germany. Can you be slightly drunk and driving? That's something I'd stay away from. Alphonso Davies to the Raiders. No, he's next signing for Marseille, right? Roberto De Zerbi is driving around looking for him as we speak. But it might be overblown. It also doesn't say was he driving. Slightly above what is legal, but that's drunk driving. I mean, that's in the U.S. You can get a prison sentence for that. I'm sure you can in many other countries too. Definitely like a pretty serious offense, I think. Especially, it's so weird to me when you're wealthy. Why would you ever drink and drive? Why would you absolutely ever take the risk of drinking and driving? You know what I mean? Yeah, slightly drunk. Like if you're under the limit, fine, and you get pulled over, fine. Having one drink or something like that. But I don't understand why would you drink and drive when you're wealthy? It's so stupid. Like, there's just no reason. You have the money to do anything you want and not have to worry about that kind of shit. You can hire a full-time driver to drive you in your Lamborghini around town, you know? Like, what's the point? It's so silly. How many times you've been caught? First time is a huge fine. So, like in the U.S., even in the first time, you can definitely get your license stripped and a short jail sentence. You can get probation on top of that. You can get mandatory testing. The article says he was arrested. Then it's probably pretty bad, yeah. I'm not saying people don't do it. It's just, it's unbelievably stupid. I don't understand it. I mean, like, everybody's made mistakes when they were young, you know? I think everybody has made some mistakes when they were young, when you were kids, potentially. 0.5%, he might be dead, Richie. I think you're missing a zero there. But, no, just teasing. But, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Did you see the family that cooked their turkey and after cooking it realized the turkey was pregnant? See, you know, I wonder about stuff like that. I wonder about stuff like that. Like, what if the turkey had like some other health situation and it meant that his muscles had different hormones in them that didn't let it cook right? You know what I mean? Community service, night in jail, all of that. All right. Anyway, forget all that. Forget all that. Let's talk first about yesterday. And then I will get into transfers and stuff, but I want to talk about yesterday, go over some numbers. I didn't do like a post-match thing because, because of the turkey stuff. So yesterday was awesome. Yesterday was really good. I want to talk through it and a few things. I've got a number of things that I want to say, a number of things that I want to look at about this game. Number one, you know, starting with the shape of the team, I thought the shape was near perfect. When you look at where everybody is playing, where the positions are. Yeah, I didn't do the post-match because of Thanksgiving. I had to run home right away, right? We were really good. Look at how high up the line is on the average position when you compare it to like the last game, which was like here. They're basically on halfway as an average position. You look at Mazraoui, most of his work was done in the opposition half as a center back. Delict right on the center circle where you want him to be. Lissandro again right in his half. Look at the wing backs. This is one of the things I was banging on about ahead of Amorim joining about these wing backs is they're not defenders. Look at them. Look at where Tyro Malacia was on the ball when he played. That is as far forward as any winger will ever play. You know, like that, you can't get more winger than that. They are wingers who are asked to defend, essentially. And I think that what you saw in this game was players who, how involved the wingbacks get in the system and how key they are to the whole thing, right? Ugarte and Bruno, this was good. One a little more deep, one a little more advanced. It's perfectly balanced. This is exactly his shape as well. You know, your 10s kind of dropping into interplay. One more creative one more runner. You see the difference. Striker, runner, creator. That's the balance of the front three. So Mount more involved in linking up play. Garnacho more involved in running. And Højlund more involved in kind of staying in the central areas and making those striker movements. So the shape was almost perfect. In the second game, it was near perfect, near exactly what you'd expect. Interestingly, when we made subs, the shape got worse. He talked about this, that we kind of went into a 4-4-2 a little bit at the end, but it was actually bad. You know, when this happened, because, you know, the more tendency to get narrow from like Dallo and stuff, I thought we were worse. And in the second half, as that happened, we ended up struggling and getting pinned a bit deeper. And so you can see this shape was a lot better. Doesn't that make us a bit too one-sided? No, it shouldn't necessarily, right? Because you can always swap these too. But the biggest thing is these fullbacks. Now, I want to talk about that because when you look at the position of them, you have to also look at the number of touches, okay? Look at the number of touches. 45 minutes, 60 touches for Malacia. So in one half, Malacia got 60 touches. That means he'd be averaging about 120 touches in a game. And look where he is. Okay, the wingbacks get the ball, and Anthony, getting the ball 70 times in his 60 minutes. So it shows you that's not a fluke. That's how it is. 8 attempted crosses from Malacia, only 1 successful. But you can see how active and involved he was in the game. You can see how active involved he was in the game. Same for Anthony, although he wasn't really crossing or anything or doing anything, frankly. I actually thought Malacia was better than Anthony in that he was trying to do quite a bit more, getting the ball into the box and things like that. I thought Anthony was getting the ball up the pitch and then just losing it and running into traffic and then sometimes going backwards. But regardless, the point here is that with the number of touches that these players are getting, they're huge, important players. And this is why, for me, like you take this situation of Ahmad, right, and say, well, he's playing here at wingback. Good. Keep him there. This isn't an insult. I kept saying this ahead of Amorim coming in. I want your most dynamic attackers at wingback. That's what Amorim wants. Your most dynamic forwards, technical ability to break, through in a whole bunch of different ways, to carry the ball, to pass the ball, to create, to do all of that. That's what you want at wingback because they're the most important part of the team in attacking. They hold the width, which gives you those outlets for the buildup, for the passages of play, for the creativity. They're intricately involved in making all of these plays. You saw how many times Mount made that inverted run for Anthony, which a lot of times he missed or ignored. That is such a huge part of the proper play and buildup. And you saw how many times Malacia on that side was looking for like Garnacho on the run or crossing it into the box. You want your best attackers in these positions. Really, you do. And I'm not talking about strikers. I'm talking about in terms of players who are wide players, who can play wide, but your guys with the most technical ability, the most dynamic creativity you want in those wide areas. It's a simpler job, the inside forwards, because they're essentially supposed to get on the ball, run, and make those movements. Now, they have to be intelligent and all of that, but it's a lot more smaller touches. If you look at the number of touches here, Mason Mount played really well, by the way. 59 minutes, 37 touches, right? Of course, you're inside. You're going to be touching the ball a little bit less. 63 for Garnacho. So in the full game, he got what Tyrell Malacia got in a half. And that's kind of the point, is this is a simpler job. And your striker getting 29 touches and scoring. So, the biggest touches come here. This is who touches the ball the most, is this back five. And so especially you want these wingers here to be incredibly dynamic. So I think Ahmad is perfect for that, because if you start moving him to the 10 just because he's good, you're actually taking the ball out of his hands more. So I think he's going to be a very long-term starter there. Luke Shaw would be so good in this role. If he was getting into the positions Malacia was getting into yesterday, we'd be creating goals left and right, but a fitness issue. And from Malacia, it was good to see him play, but unfortunately, we also saw the worries that I've been told a lot, which is I don't think he'll ever be up to the level of necessary from a physical standpoint. He looks like he runs with a limp. He looked really slow and tight on that second goal. Before the injury, Malacia wouldn't have been burned like that. After the injury, I don't think he'll be up to the level of being able to play in this position. He's just not going to be fast enough. He's lost a significant amount of pace. It really was unfortunate seeing him run back like that. Yeah, he looked like he was trying to fair. Yeah, like you can see a hitch in his run at full speed. It's there. You can see it, and it's sad. It is really sad to see that, but that was the concern all along, is that even if he did return when he did, that he wouldn't be able to have the physical levels necessary. Some of that can be mental, but some of it is just the issue of when you're repairing a muscular injury like that was so serious, that had multiple surgeries. You get things like scar tissue, things like that, and they can prevent the muscles from moving in the same way that they used to. It's the same reason Luke Shaw is so injury prone with the metal rod in his leg. And there's just difference in how the muscles flex, the bones flex, that the joints work together. You may never physically be up to what you were before when you have certain injuries. And, just whatever the case may be, whether, in the ligaments and things like that, sometimes it's just, there's nothing you can do. But that's a concern, right? Because against better attackers, I mean, it's just, I don't know what you could do about that. What you can do about that for Malacia as well. I think he was okay, but, in a pinch. But, it's interesting here because if you look at this lineup, the two weakest players, unfortunately, were our two wingbacks, and they're the two most important players for attacking and creativity. And defensively, they become a weakness as well. And it's fine. I think Malacia can have a career in football, but, for sure. But I don't think he'll ever be a starting level player for United. I don't think he was before, but I think it's harder. I think he helped a lot. But you can see why we need someone there, because Dalot didn't do a good job there. Now, the only question I have is this. When you look at Mazraoui, I mean, an absolutely stunning, incredible player. Duels won 139 touches, once again, 110 plus passes, right? All of that. Just an absolutely incredible player who can do everything. He got an assist into Rasmus as well. When Euro returns fully, when Maguire returns fully, when these center backs are actually center backs and we're not playing with three fullbacks for the half, Lissandro will get more fit. Then we'll have Lissandro, Shaw, De Ligt, Euro, Maguire all in there. Mazraoui being such a talented player, what if he moves over to the left for me? Why not? Now, he could play right wing back or left wing back, but he's so technical. He's pacey. He covers ground well. He's intelligent. We saw him at left back under what's his name? Van Nistelrooy, and he did a great job. I think he'd do a better job at that left wing back role for quite a lot than anybody else right now. Like significantly better. Maybe even a long-term solution. Or he might be a long-term solution at right wing back. Obviously, he can play kind of everywhere, and that helps a lot. But this is Euro's position in the long term. It is Euro's position in the long term. But how do we utilize the strengths of both? To utilize Euro in his best position and Mazraoui. How do we... And in the long term, I'm talking, where is Mazraoui's best position? I don't think it is at right center back. I'm not saying he wasn't great there, but he's so good, you're seeing him at right center back and saying, wow, he's incredible. I think if you put him at right wing back, he'd be just as good. I think if you put him at left wing back, he'd be just as good because that's the kind of footballer he is. He's just incredible. He just does things at a high level no matter where you put him. So I would say if we want to get the most out of our squad, he might fit really well into one of those wing back positions and do just as well. I prefer Mazraoui as the right center back. He's too good there. Agreed. But again, I think it'd be everywhere. I think, again, you put him in any of these positions, wing back or center backs, and he's going to do great. He's going to do great. So I think Shaw plays left center back would fit. Euro right center back, Leach is center back. And that's probably correct. I see it long-term being Shaw and Lissandro here. Lissandro, Maguire, De Ligt here, Euro, De Ligt here, and Mazraoui into one of these roles. Because get him further forward as well. He's so good, he can give you what you need in the attacking areas as well. He can give you all of that. From the wide areas, he can do incredible work, so that's good. But look, on that note, let me finish going through this and I'll talk about the transfers and stuff because there's interesting things to think about with all of this. And a lot of it applies to Mazraoui as well. A lot of it applies to him as well. And a lot of it ties into that. So, as I said, the shape was incredible. And again, yes, with your weakest two players being performance-wise, the wing-backs. And the shape was already there. The idea was already there. All of that. Look at this momentum chart in terms of the domination from start to finish of this game, aside from this little squeaky bum time at the end. That was nerve-wracking. But we put in essentially an 80-minute performance. And again, there was the 2 goals they scored came in a moment. And I want to talk about why that happened and all of that, right? But 85 minutes of domination. When's the last time we've seen United do that? In any competition, against FC 20. Remember, we played FC 20 at home in this same competition before we go say, oh, it's Bodo, it's Glimt. It's like, this is an easy team. We played FC 20 in the same competition and drew 1-1 and created nothing the entire game. It was one of the worst games I've ever seen. It was awful. We've seen worse out of this, right? Brainthwaite should tweet free pals. But, that was one of the worst games I've ever seen from United, it started off okay, and then it just kept getting worse and worse, and we created nothing as the game went on. This was bottom to top domination, and look, these aren't guaranteed wins. You look at this, 2.95 expected goals with 72% possession. When is the last time that we dominated the ball and created chances at the same time? Because we've created chances. There was games like West Ham, the last one Ten Hag was in, where we didn't really dominate the ball, right? We played transitional football and created chances in transition. This was creating chances through patterned play over and over. All the goals, aside from the first one, really, the chances were coming off of patterned chance creation, those underlapping and inverted runs and things like that over and over and over and over again. And we just dominated all aspects of it. We were more combative. Everything was good. 4 big chances. And here's what I like to see as well. Touches in the penalty area, 47. There's a lot of times where we would kind of where we would get a lot of chances, but we still barely had the ball in the opposition's third and in their penalty area. It would be a lot of attacking on a run. We wouldn't get into their box much, and we'd have to score. Look at the final third entries, 82. I would almost bet that is more than we've had. I have not compared, but I would bet that's one of the highest we've had in 3 years. Maybe the highest, in terms of those things. Shots inside the box, 14-4, right? So we prevented a lot of good chances and got a hell of a lot of shots inside the box. Again, I think it's unlikely that we've had this much penetration into the box in a long time. This much. So yeah, it was really good. The ideas are all there. Everything is all there. All of that was very, very good. It was great. I thought Ugarte has been showing once again why he's the perfect player for this system and why he's such a good 6. 92% passing, 77 touches, an assist, 5 out of 7 duels won, safe on the ball, only 5 possessions lost, and 92% passing, 4 tackles, 2 interceptions, the assist. He's perfect in his role. He's so good at putting out fires, at covering, at intelligent. Everything he did was perfect. And then Bruno, I think that Bruno was decent. Again, safe with the ball. But I think he's struggling a little to figure out how to impact the game from being more conservative as a player. And that's a big thing. He's going to have to figure it out. How do you impact the game, right? I'm not saying he didn't do good things. There was a couple decent ones, but he's struggling, I think, to impact the game in a more conservative way, without being so chaotic. And I'll talk about the goals in a second, because the 2 goals we conceded were mistakes, big mistakes between Lisandro and Bruno. Both of them were big mistakes between them. Bruno lost a lot of defensive concentration on both of those goals. In the second one, it's even more obvious. There's two players. He doesn't block either one, so he should have been blocking off the pass that led to the pass behind. He didn't. And then Lissandro ends up running from deep and vacating his space as well. It was really kind of just a poor mistake. And if Bruno blocks the first pass off like he should have, then the play never happens. But one of the things that they have to learn is when to press and when not, because you don't have to. In the system, you can let up. You don't have to press. You don't have to run yourself out of position. Sometimes you can just drop back, and they need to be more aware of where the defensive line is. But yeah, look, the setup was good. The patterns were good. The blueprint is there. Creator, runner, striker, defender, slightly more attacking deep midfielder. That's the pattern. That's the formation. That's the way that it plays. And we need to get more players in there. Finding the balance of who's best for these positions is going to be important. I think Ugarte and Højlund have nailed on their spots as the starting number 9, as the starting number 6. I think you know that. I think between Garnacho and Rashford, one of them needs to really get going in this game. I think, again, Garnacho was kind of poor, decision-making bad, finishing terrible. But still, time to go between them, right? I thought Mount was good. Him or Bruno in that position or Ahmad in that position works. I think Mainu will end up being the best for this position, but Bruno can play there as well. So there's questions to be asked of these three positions, right? Garnacho, Rashford, Mount, Bruno, and Ahmad. It's like 5 players for those 3 positions, and Xerxes as well, technically. So there's 5 or 6 players who could figure out how they fit into these positions, and based on form and fit and how well they're doing will be figured out. So those are kind of the questions that are still to be answered in all of these things. And again, yeah. Anyway, it's fine. What did I want to do? Oh, no, this reset. Bastards. So this was the lineup. One of the things that they've got to learn that I just want to show really briefly, this was the lineup, is that they need to, the players are really big on this screen right now. But one of the things they have to learn that resulted in the 2 goals, and I'll talk about transfers after this. Okay, right after this, I'll talk about transfers before we get into Everton and things like that. One of the things they have to learn is that when the defensive line is deep, and they do this thing, which Ipswich did as well, where they dropped the kind of 2 attackers into this space and kept one over here. This center back should not be running from deep up to them. They need to understand at that point in time to sit. Just to sit. When we lose the ball without the forward line being, the back line being high, and in a lot of instances, it was high. It was super high, where you're already touch tight. That's what you want. In an ideal world, that's what you want. The center backs to be really high already. We don't lose the ball until everybody is up the pitch, so that you're already touch tight to that forward and there's nowhere for them to drop and the pitch is really small. But once the defensive line has dropped a bit and they do that thing where they try to bait the center back, which is what both Ipswich and Bodo did. For one, Bruno has to sit in the center and just block off the pass, not go get caught between the 2 players, because there's one out here, one on Malacia, and Bruno floats in between, which opened up the middle, which was where the pass came from. And then Lissandro comes rushing up to try to close it down, and it makes a huge gap. And that actually resulted in both goals. Both goals came from that. And that's one of the things they have to learn. Don't press. In that case, just don't press. If you're deep and you're out of that position, don't press. Just sit. Just sit. Settle in your position. Just sit. They have to learn that. Amorim's system is a high pressing system. You press a lot, but not that much. It's not near, they're actually middle of the road in a sporting team or middle of the road pressing this year. You don't have to press. And when you look at what we did better, winning the ball high by, again, by maintaining control and possession, getting up the pitch, then we pressed, right? Mountain Ugarte did an insane job when we were losing the ball high to win it back quickly. And they stay up there. But once everyone is up, then you win the ball in the right positions quickly and you block off the middle. But you don't do that once the defensive line has dropped. Then you drop. And a lot of times on Sporting, that would happen. Once they've dropped, everybody just runs backwards. Don't press, just run backwards. And block it off again. Get back into that mid-block, deep block for the moment. Wait for them to settle, then trap them and win. And win the ball back and then build back up the pitch. So that's a big deal. The other thing that we did finally... Oh, I meant to show this. I do have to show this on the stats. This is the most important thing to me. This. 7 long balls from Matthijs de Ligt. 3 out of 3 from Lissandro, so that makes 10. And then Mazraoui, 5 of them. So that's 15. That is more than double in the first game on those long balls. More than double on those long balls. And that is all about this big switch. I was begging for it after the first game. If you've been watching me, I'm obnoxious about this switching thing because it's so fundamental to the build-up. It's so fundamental. Yeah, this is just SofaScore. It's so fundamental to the build-up that these guys make this big pass. Lissandro to Antony, De Ligt to Antony and Malacia, that the central center back is able to make that pass, one pass, right, from middle to outside and from side to other side. It's so fundamental, right? Because if you have to take 2 passes to go De Ligt to Lissandro to Malacia, you're letting the defense get there. But that big switch is everything. It is so important to getting out of the press and to beating it. Why are you refreshing on me? Onana 4 with so he didn't do as many, which is a little good too. 3, but that is so fundamental. Casemiro did it, yeah. Like, it was much quicker, the passing, Casemiro hit 5 as well, even in the short time he was on, 24 minutes. It's so fundamental to this play because it moves the defense a lot faster, right? A lot faster. So we'll see. Some of this is because the opposition didn't press us. We had more space. We looked a little bit better. But regardless, that big switch, those wingbacks will be open. There were so many times against Ipswich where I'm watching the ball come to the left and Ahmad is free on the right, wide open, and it takes 3 passes to get to him. And by then the defense has shifted rather than the big switch that lets you get right up the pitch. So many times we were able to do that. So many times we were able to do that against Bodo, and we pulled that off. And it was much better. So, yeah, hopefully that is improved. What did I want to do? Cool. Let's talk about some of the transfers and training and shit like that. So first talking about transfers. So one of the things, we kind of knew this already, to be fair, training, is that, under previous manager, there's a lot of talk of these long tactical sessions of video and discussions of hours and hours and complaints about it. And look, I said many times they were not getting it under Ten Hag. They were not getting through to them. And obviously, what Amorim says, very different. He's a very practical manager. I think I explained this as well, in the lead up to him, that from what I know about him, it was a lot of communication, a lot of very practical training, hands-on, right? So instead of showing a lot of video, like you said, walking through the sequences, putting them through it, tactical work that is not high intensity running all week, right? Lowering the what do you call it? What's that called? The training load, right? Bringing it down. And so in between, when they're doing the tactical work, not just sitting and watching film. Nobody likes watching film. Look, in the US, like, watching film is a huge part of the NFL, for example, right? In American football, film is like a massive part of it. But here's the difference, right? They have 1 game a week and they play 17 games, and it's only the season is 3 months long. Okay. film watching is a big part of it. And the other aspect is positions are so hyper specialized that when you watch it, you can watch just your position and you can learn very easily. Even then, it's almost mostly just the quarterbacks that everybody else hates it. But you know, this is a big difference in keeping it to like 10, 12 minutes of film time where you watch the basic concept and then you go out and you do it practically, more hands-on. And obviously, I think that suits I think that suits people better. I know in a classroom, the less mental instruction and the more practical instructions usually just works better for everybody. And so I think that that's a good difference, just getting through to people. You know, as I've shared many times from my discussions with people around players and all of that, from day one, it was like, oh, we get it. We actually understand what he's saying. We actually understand the concepts. We're actually getting what he's talking about. It's so much easier to grasp. It's so much easier to understand. It's so much easier to take in, to apply, to put into action than what we were learning before. And that's just the big theme. Everybody's getting it. That's why it's happened so quickly, right? That in 2 games, you're already seeing more of an idea than I think we saw in years. The other thing I want to say that I'm really happy why we got the win yesterday is after the 2 goals conceded, you could see fans already starting to lose their shit. Like, I got to say to this fan base, like, you guys, I'm generalizing because it's not most people, to be quite honest, but you guys gotta grow up a little bit here, right? Because after 2 goals conceded, people start losing it about like how it's going. Oh my God, you know, we should switch back to the 4-2-3-1. You know, we should abandon this. Oh, this didn't work. Oh, some XYZ would have won this game. All of that. Like, calm down, grow up, and be willing to lose games, okay? Be willing to lose games. You have to. We saw this under Ten Hag where he came in and he played 2 games. And we lost to Brighton and we got battered by Brentford, and it never went back to how we wanted to play before. Everything changed after that, and we never went back to trying to play real football again. It all went into this in this attempt to win games. So I'm glad we won, because then that won't happen. But as fans, stop, man. Stop with the pressure. Stop with freaking out as soon as something goes a little wrong and starting to put the pressure on them, you know? Because you don't want to put the pressure, like, I'm not saying he will anyway, but as fans, we should stop trying to pressure the coach, the players to abandon what they're doing in order to try to just win instantly. Stop that. Like, now is the right time to give it time. With Ten Hag, it was too late. It was too far gone already by this year and all of that, to where it wouldn't matter. But I know Amorim knows it. That's why he said you need to win games to get that time. Yes, but as fans, we've got to relax. If we go and don't win against Everton, so what? That doesn't mean we should change what we're doing. If we go get battered by Arsenal, so what? It doesn't mean we should change what we're doing. We need to continue it. Now, I don't think it'll take that long, but it's like you, at least for a couple months, you've got to suffer. And I don't think it takes 3 years. I've never been on top of that. I think you give them 1 year. But fans won't even give them, you know, it's crazy because you ask for patience and time, and then at the same time, people freak out when you start to lose in 2 games. Give them at least that time, right, to implement the idea. I don't think it takes 2 to 3 years. I don't. I think it takes 1. And I think within that year, you start to see a progression. And you'll see big problems and you'll still lose games and all of that. But as fans, we got to slow down, relax a little bit, right? Don't back up and just immediately panic into what is the best way that we can give it time right now. A fan base has Xerxes gone already, right? You know, people were saying Ugarte was shit after Tottenham. That was it, 1 game. Now he's the most important player, like, in that midfield. He's like your nailed on midfielder now. Like, look at what happens, man. You just chill. Like, give it time. Give it time. And as fans push back against the pressure and say, I want to keep seeing us work at this and grinding it out and getting there. Like, you know, everything is, you know, there's always anything you get good at, you go through periods of actual suffering. and learning. And it doesn't have to be that long and all of that, but it doesn't have to be that long and all of that, but especially in the first few games, like you've got to just push it through. I'm happier watching us keep trying to do what we're trying to do and struggle, because I can see how you saw in the moments of this game, right? That the way we're set up, the attacking angles and all of that are so much more improved than what we've been seeing. You know, I think a lot of people at the grounds definitely did. We're behind it, right? I just think, I would hope as a community, people, if you're watching me, to push back against it, because the players see it, the coaches see it, the staff see it, and if you don't want the players losing belief either. You know, because let's say players go out and they're playing a system, and I especially look at it with the players, okay? Let's say you've got these guys who are out there, they've been struggling for a few years, they're playing. I'm not talking like specifics, but just in general. And they're trying to play this new way of Amorim. It struggles, they lose a game, and people are hounding them. This doesn't work, this is shit online. Even if they're not real fans, even if they're shit fans, even if they're trolls, whatever, and they're just hounding them online. Is that going to help them stick with the belief in the system, or is it going to cause more conflict? Now, you could say they should be tougher, they should be offline. I totally agree with all of that. But right now, the more we can push, this is the way, do it his way, that's it, then I think it will help in that respect. I think it will help. In little things, it's just little stuff, just little bits. But I don't want players who do spend too much time online, because they do, to sit there and like be bombarded with stuff when a game goes bad about it's shit, it doesn't work, and start to like get in their head about whether they should stick with, you know, how much belief they have in this new coach's philosophy and in getting forward. Because if they're getting abused because it's not working in the moment, they're still the ones getting abused. You know what I'm saying? They're still the ones getting that abuse. It makes it harder for them. And I think that certain players are really susceptible to this, frankly. And it's fine. I'm not criticizing them. I'm saying that's the reality of it. So maybe we can help in that respect at all. That's all I'm saying. Myself. That's what I would like to see. Funny thing is, all 4 goals in the Amorim era striker involved. I could never imagine under 10 on. Really good point. All of the goals involved a striker. You're right. That's a good point. All 4 so far. Anyway, that's just what I think. So, training, they're getting it. They're understanding it. They're taking it on board a lot better than they were before. It's making a huge difference. You know, when I looked at... this is a fan base afraid to hope and be optimistic for a feel of online ridicule and transfer the players. Agreed. Yeah, if a player has a choice, why would they choose to play in front of abusive fans? Absolutely. I think it makes a difference, and it's the world we live in, and it would help, you know. A little minimized criticism, things like that, but I think in general, if you say, this is the guy, this is the idea, stick with it, follow it, it helps the players to stick with it too. It does. What was I going to say? So yes, so I put out something... maybe it was covered in a video, I think, on the Amorim's tactics after the first training. I spoke about how, you know, he deals with organizing the defense and timing. Was it Carlos Fernandez or one of the other guys was doing the final thirds and the attacking areas? So we saw that already in the initial trainings. He has these specialized, he's always done this. He has his assistants that work on the specific areas, right, of the pitch. Or maybe it was Jorge Ferrero. I can't remember the names that it was said, but Amorim is super involved himself in coaching one part of it and has the certain people coaching the specific attacking areas, midfield, backline, etc., right? So that's cool. That's a good report, and definitely we were seeing some of that already, and that he has those specific people to do that. Yeah, Matt saying way back in the 60s, don't read the papers. Well, there you go. You know, it's the same idea. It's just moved online. And so there's a lot more planning and a lot more specific direction that's going into each aspect of the pitch, of the training, of all of that. And Yeah. And so that's really good. They're all taking it on board. Now, as far as transfers go, right, what do we have here right now? Okay, what can I tell you, and just in terms of all the reports and things like that. So the left wing back position being the main position of big like need was viewed through summer, and then when Shaw picked up his injury, is viewed now. Now we can see that Luke Shaw is continuing to play at left center back, and a big part of that is probably the decision that his body won't hold up in that position. This is a lot safe for him. When all our center backs come back, will that change? It might. When Shaw's back a little bit longer, we might see him more at left center back or at left wing back. It's not to say he can't do it anymore, but he has been pretty much exclusively training at left center back. So we know that left wing back is a need. This is one where they're making, big decisions. As I said before, Gyökeres, I don't think is much of a thing for us. If you read between the lines of what Ornstein said, he's got a preference to go somewhere else. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to Arsenal. Quite frankly, I wouldn't. But anyway, regardless of that, outside of that position, again, Amorim's major role, aside from just generally coaching the team, but in transfers, is looking at the players that we have and assessing the players that we have and assessing what we've got for each position and where we need players right now. You can see some hints of this. Like if you were to take just the first 2 games and look at it, what would you say? You would say we need that left wing back for sure. You'd say we probably need another center back. I'm not sure which yet. You'd say we need another midfielder. And I wouldn't really be sure about anything beyond that yet. And that is really the truth at this point in time, right? From what I'm told, because I've asked about this a few times in the last few days, there's still a lot more assessment to be done. Because one of the major things that has to happen, and this ties into this Mazraoui thing, it's a real positive, but it ties into the Mazraoui thing, is once you have more center backs come back, specifically, Lissandro will be back fully fit now, Shaw back fully fit now, Maguire back soon, and Euro back soon. Where does Mazraoui play? If he plays in the back line regularly, then you may not need a center back, right? Because then you're saying you have Lissandro, Shaw, Maguire, De Ligt, Euro, and Mazraoui all playing in the back line. Well, then you don't need a center back. Now, I don't think that's what's going to happen, by the way, because I think Lenny Yoro is going to end up being our right center back for the future. But then where does Mazraoui play? Does he become your right wing back? And is it him and Ahmad? Now, again, remember what I said, and this is totally true. If in the Amorim system you want your wing backs to be some of your best technical players, well, Ahmad and Mazraoui fit that to a T. They can both do it. So then you may not need a right wing back. So all this talk of Quenda may go completely out the window, right? All of that may go completely out the window. And then Ahmad can start at right wing back and Mazraoui can cover any position in the back line, or you can start at right wing back and Ahmad can be at the 10 or rested. Either one, but you would have multiple solutions for that area. Could he deploy Mazraoui on the left wing back, which I think is a possibility, and you find that he's absolutely insane in that position, and you run Ahmad and Mazraoui, and those are your two guys, and then you maybe need a backup right wing back or another right wing back, and then Quenda becomes a real option. Okay? Like, there's too many decisions to be made still. We've got plenty of time till summer. Too many assessments that are still being worked on, especially before all of our center backs return healthy and we get to see them in action in order to see that, okay? So there's a lot to come in here. People keep saying, let's put Ahmad back at the 10. Why? Right? Why? You know, if you want Quenda, it's the same thing. If we were to buy Quenda, people will be saying the same thing. Let's put him at the 10 once you see him, because he's exactly like Ahmad. an extremely talented, technical, and aggressive attacking player who is so dynamic in that area. That's why he's at wingback, because it's a very important position. It's a very important position for this team. And you want somebody tenacious, somebody who can get out of the press, somebody who can move, who can be dynamic and attack and all of that. So, yeah. So a lot of it really depends on the back line and Mazraoui. In the midfield, and if you look at the first two games with this heavy rotation, a big part of that is assessing who can do it, who fits, and who cannot. And in the long term, we can see it already, right? Christian Eriksen is not going to work in this team. He doesn't have the legs for it. He's leaving in summer regardless, maybe sooner. Johnny Evans, we already know, right? Antony's not good enough at wing back. There's not really a position for him. So you know that Casemiro is getting old too, but also came in as central center back. Now that tells you as well that he really trusts Ugarte in the 6, but we also don't have an Ugarte rotation, if you think about it. Maybe it's Casemiro, but Casemiro's not as disciplined as Ugarte in that role. He plays better with Ugarte than he does instead of Ugarte, right? So there's a lot of assessments still to come. I think they're in the early doors from what they've been looking at, a center back, a fullback, and potentially one or two midfielders is more of a priority than some of these other positions, okay, for now. But it's still to come. And that really is the important thing to just get. I understand a little bit of that is boring, but, the truth is Amorim is still assessing for the other positions in order to decide. But I think the initial assessments dictate still that left side is more important. Is more of a vital thing. Now, on Quenda, United are interested in Quenda. I've shared this before, but I try to quell it a little bit because it's, like I said, it's like half bait, okay? It's half bait because there's 6 other top teams that are really interested in Quenda. All the really good teams in Europe are following Quenda. He is a really good player. He's really talented. He could be expensive. Very expensive. So it depends on the need. Because if you're buying him, you want him to start there. If Ahmad, you think he's good enough for that position, and he might be. Ahmad might be a more ready Quenda. Then you may not want to spend that kind of money there. So again, the assessment is there. I understand there's a story of him meeting Jorge Mendes, but he also represents Yoro and Ugarte. And we'll be having regular meetings and discussions with Jorge Mendes throughout the season. So it's a little bit bait, but I'm not saying it's not true, but it is a little bit bait. It is over talked about at the moment, okay? But it could very much be a subject of discussion in the future. He's maybe one of the few players from Sporting that you would look at getting, but that's because everybody's looking at him. Like I said, I don't think Gyökeres is much of an issue. If you were to ask me now, I would tell you they're still looking at one forward, one or two midfielders, and a center and 2 center backs and a left back if they're looking at all the positions right now. But that is going to change in the near future. Ezekiel Palacios would be amazing. We liked him. We tried to buy him a couple years ago. He would be amazing. Yeah, agreed. He'd be perfect. That'd be a good player. Now, 2 players to keep in mind that I understand United are still following. One is Zubimendi, that they're following. I don't believe that they're necessarily going to get him, but they are still following him. And the other player that is going to be of interest, his situation, is Tchouaméni. His situation with Madrid has been questionable at times. It was questionable 2 years ago. When I posted a thing about him, there were some discussions at Madrid and between him and the club about his fit, and he was kind of they were struggling to use him properly. I think they're still struggling to use him properly. I think that they've still got a bit of confusion on how they set up their midfield. And Tchouaméni's situation is up in the air at the moment. I don't think he really fits the way that they've wanted him to play. I think he's much more of a pure defender as a midfielder than how they've been trying to use him. I don't think he's a flop at all. I think he's had some really great games, but he doesn't really fit what they're trying to do in the same way. Like, he's not a replacement for Toni Kroos. but that's oftentimes how they're trying to deploy him. They're struggling anyways to figure it out, and as long as they keep trying to force Mbappe and Bellingham into certain situations, they're going to keep struggling with that. But Tchouaméni is a situation to watch. United have been interested in him for a long time. They've been following him. Situation is open. He might go to Chelsea, though. There's definitely some stuff between him and between Chelsea and Madrid in potential for a move for Tchouaméni, even potentially with things like Enzo Fernandez going to Madrid. There's different potentials here, but he's one to keep an eye on that United have been interested in among a few other teams as well. Okay, but that is one I'll keep an eye on. Like Ugarte at PSG, exactly. You can see how he fits here, where he was a flop at PSG, and that's why people said he was going to suck here. You never know. There's big differences. If Ancelotti was changed by Alonso, would that change? Maybe, but remember, they don't make so many manager-based transfer decisions. So regardless, that's a potential idea to look at. Otherwise, the names we've been talking about before at left wing back, Davies, Aït-Nouri, Kirkes, Miguel Gutierrez, potential for Alvaro Fernandez, all names to keep in mind. At center back, we know the names like Braithwaite. In the midfield, Tchouaméni, Zubimendi. And yes, United had been following Ederson from Atalanta, though I don't think it was as much interest as it was being put out at the time. But that's one to keep an eye on. So those are the positions I've heard the most about. And then we've got as well, still we know all these young players. Like you can see how a Rig or a Mastantuono fits in like that Mason Mount role, right? I think we can all see that now. That's where they would fit, I think, more than anything. The question is, do we need anybody there? Or between Mount, Bruno, and Ahmad, do we have enough? But a lot of those young players like Mastantuono and Rig, we can see exactly how they fit into like that Mount kind of link-up creator 10-winger role. But do we need more players there? And Nipan, yeah. That's the question about whether we would make a move for one of them, is do we actually need anybody there? If Mount can't stay healthy, then yes, we do. Absolutely need another player there. If he can, then we really don't, right? I mean, that's my thinking. Because if you have Bruno, Mount, and Ahmad who can all play in that position, if Mount is injured, then fine. But Bruno, Mount, and Ahmad are all good there, and Xerxes too. So it kind of depends on performance. So January may be too soon for a decision on that, but that's where they would fit. So those are a lot of the profiles that I'm looking at and players that I'm hearing. The fullback, the really attacking, aggressive, kind of athletic fullbacks, big center backs, deep midfielders, and that like link-up creator forward role. So a lot of those, the assessments are ongoing. Do we have players good enough for it, or do we need to buy in those positions, right? Then I think there's the other roles like right wing back, which very much depends on the position. What do you think this means for Rashford? Feels like the odd one out in the system. I think that if you look at how they're set up, most players need to be able to play two positions. Rashford is more in the Garnacho and Højlund role. He will have to start performing in those two positions, rotating with Højlund and rotating with Garnacho. Garnacho will have to perform in that position, to keep his role. Højlund will have to perform in that position. Mount will have to perform between more attacking and deeper. Bruno will have to perform before more attacking and deeper. So there's a lot of things there. Yeah, but that's where Rashford would fit very clearly into the Garnacho position, which is where he came on for yesterday, even though they kind of switched sides. He came on in that kind of runner forward role next to a striker. Why do we spend 50 to 60 on Tchouaméni when we've just bought Ugarte? Because we don't have any other defensive midfielders. If Eriksen and Casemiro leave, we have Ugarte and Menu, who are naturally more deep players, and we have no more. We need more. We need more options. We need more options. We do need more options. And I think in general, Amorim will rotate more than we've seen. 66 minutes, we made 5 subs by that time. And I'm not saying it's always going to be that much, but he uses those subs liberally at all times. And if you ask me right now, I would say in terms of players we've got available who fit the team, Højlund, you know, who you could say, yeah, these guys can all be used. Højlund, Garnacho, Mount, Bruno, Ugarte, Shaw, Lissandro, De Ligt, Yoro, Maguire, Mazraoui, Onana, obviously, Dallo, Ahmad, Rashford, Bruno. You know, we've got like maybe 16 players that I would say can fit into the team right now. We need more than that. We need more than that. We may need to improve in quality in a couple of those positions, but that's not, you know, in general, you want to have probably 18, I would say, players who you think are good enough to play in these teams. And some of them are question marks. I'm just saying, like, those are the players I see that make sense. They're not all performing right now. So we may need to replace some of them. We may need to upgrade on some of them, but those are the ones that I think all make sense, where there's a lot of players, there's a few players who just don't make sense. We're for sure like out of the picture, but a lot of them are leaving. Casemiro has only 1 year left this summer, you know? Eriksen is gone in summer. So we need players in certain positions for that regard, for that in general. But anyway, that's what I'm hearing so far. Those positions and those players. That's a bigger list, but I'm hearing in those positions and those players. Those left wing backs, there's like 4 or 5 that we're interested in. The center backs, we know. The midfield, some deeper ones like Zubamendi, Hackney as a younger option. Chouameni, just to keep an eye on. Ederson, there's some to that, though I'm not sure it's as much as it's being stated. And then in the forward area, some younger players like Mastantuono, Rig, Nippon that are still interested. And then you've got like the Quenda. If we decide to go for a right wing back, then that option is there. So a lot of assessments still to be made. Yeah, and Hjulmand, I mean, maybe he could be an option, but I don't think that's a good buy for us. I don't think that's a good buy for us personally. I'm not sure he's necessarily good enough for the Premier League from a physical pace and such standpoint. But yeah, those are major assessments going on to see do we make moves in those positions or not, and that's what matters. And it has not been decided. The one that is the most clear, is is that center backs and left wing back, because yes, we have Evans leaving. Evans leaving. Ornstein didn't say we'd part ways with Xerxes. I believe it was in the Laurie section where he said if it doesn't work out, they could let him go next summer. And I think correct. Look, that's part of the assessment. If Xerxes didn't work out, we probably need another striker. But it's way too early to say that. 3 center backs out of contract. Yeah, and I think Maguire will get an extension. I think Lindelof will go and Evans will go. So Maguire, we will see. We will see what happens at this point in time. We will see there. But at least we need center backs and fullbacks. At least we need 1 fullback and 1 or 2 center backs at least. That is almost a certainty. Beyond that, there's still a lot more assessments to be made. But again, at the same time, if both Shaw and Mazraoui ended up being long-term center backs, then we don't need that many center backs. Lissandro, Shaw, De Ligt, Maguire, Yoro, and Mazraoui, 6 good center backs. We don't need them. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but even then, it could change things a little bit. So we will see. We will see what happens there. With Todibo would be great in a system too, but he's so fast and so physical. He'd be a great wide center back for me. But yeah, I guess we could buy him from West Ham, but I don't know. He's done poorly there. I think he's done pretty bad. I don't know what's happened there. Has he been injured? I mean, West Ham have been so shit and weird. I don't know. It's a weird situation. Okay, I want to get into the. I think that about covers it on the transfer side of it. Give it time. There's not a ton of money in January. They'll do something if they need to. Like I said, on one of those options that if they feel like they have enough time and data to make a decision, which is why I think a left wing back is the more likely one because they've had more time on that one, and the opportunity is there, then they would be able to make a move. But beyond that, I think unlikely we buy anything, and the rest waits for summer. More time to assess, more time to watch, more time to build this out. So, okay, let's move on. I want to do the vote. I want to do our vote I want to do our vote for Everton, okay? Because it's been over an hour. Look, here is what you guys voted for Ipswich. which was in the end very wrong. Okay, but a lot of that was because of players who were not ready to come back into the team yet. This is what we voted for Ipswich. I think this week's vote is going to be massively different in so many different ways. I think it's going to be massively different. Yeah, you guys blew it on this one. I gotta say, what the hell happened to you guys? No, I'm just teasing. But let's see. Let's vote for the Everton game here. I'm gonna include Kobbie Mainoo. I'm not going to include Lenny Yoro because he has no chance of starting. Mainoo's been in the squad twice. He's been working for a while now. I guess technically he could play. Yoro could be in the squad, but there's like basically zero chance that he starts, right? I'll keep Mainoo in the vote, okay? And again, this is who you want, okay? I think this is going to have changed a lot now after watching these two games. But this is who you want. So if you want Kobbie Mainoo in that role, vote for him. I'm not saying he'll start because it seems unlikely given he hasn't got any minutes yet, but he will be in the squad. He will be available, so he could. So if you want Kobbie Mainoo, vote for him. Just because that's the purpose of this, is not to guess what the lineup will be. So let's start at striker. This is going to be the easiest one in I think history. Our only two options. Well, I'll put Xerxes in here too. Remember, this is not what you think. It's who you want. Okay? I'm just being clear because my view, the whole point of doing these polls week by week, from me, this was my intention with it from the start, was to look at what fans think is the best team and see how it evolves over the season. Not who you think is going to start, but who you want is the most important. Because I want to see what fans believe is the best team. All right, that's the easiest vote, I think, here, okay? Let's go with this left-sided 10, left forward, okay? And we're going to put Garnacho in here. Garnizzi, Rashford. Oops. And then I'll put, I don't know. I guess I'll put Bruno here. Maybe I'll put Mount in here as well, just in case. Left-sided, 10, forward. Who do you guys want? This is where Garnacho has been recently. I think Rashford should be in this position. I think he deserves a good run in this position. I think it'll be his best position. And remember, we'll have a right-sided 10 to vote too, of course. So, yeah. But I personally think for the next game, given Garnacho's also started 2 games in a row, that I think it'd be good to give Rashford a run in this position with Højlund and see how that goes. I would like to see that. In that case, I want 10 Mazraouis on the field. Unfortunately, we only get 1 in that case. That's the one rule. We get 1 Mazraoui. Unless we can find more. Oh, man. I fucked up my back somehow. I've got like a bad... It's like in between my shoulder blade and my spine on the left side. I've got this horrible, horrible ache. And like if I try to sleep on my back, it's like intense pain. And it's just like so uncomfortable. I don't know what I did to my back. It's like a really sharp pain in between and it just won't go away. I hate that. Getting old. Ruben indicated rotation. Yeah, there will be rotation. So I think like Højlund didn't start the first game, started the second one, so we'll probably start the next one, especially after scoring a couple good games. A massage? I think you mean a massage. Yeah, probably. I'd need to get to, like, I like chiropractors. I know people have different views on chiropractors. I think chiropractors are great for acute issues, especially when they're ones who are also, like, actually licensed physical therapists who understand the actual, a lot of stuff and aren't sitting there having you, like, touch metal and do juju, because I think that shit is ridiculous. But the ones who are actually, like, real physical therapists as well, really can help, and I need to try to get into one today. All right, let's end that there. Chiropractic aim for what? What are you talking about? All right, let's do the right 10, right forward. Bruno, Mount, Ahmad. I'll put that there. Now remember, if you vote Ahmad here, then he cannot play at right wing back. The guy's been watching, you know, that one, the bald guy who does like, who the memes are all about, who's got like 18 different jobs, you know, or something. That's his chiropractor. Johnny Sins. Guy chiropractor is Johnny Sins. Walked into the wrong chiropractic office. I did forget to add Xerxes for the 10s, but nobody's going to vote for him right now anyway. If Mount stays fit, he'll be as important as Ugarte. I don't disagree with you. I think he's got real potential in those positions, in those areas. I think he should be really good. All right, so Mount wins this one. It's so interesting. I love how the views change over time. Let's go with the midfield pairing. I'm sorry, you were going to vote for him. Yeah, he was unlucky in the crossbar. You're right, he could have scored too. Yeah, Mount was great there. So let's go Ugarte, Menu, which I think long-term is our obvious best choice, but maybe you don't think so right now because you want to keep getting Bruno into this team. I understand. Maybe like, I don't know. I'm just giving different options here. I'm just going to give like 4 realistic options. I'm not saying they're real options, but realistic options. There could be other options, I guess. Yeah, Ugarte Menu. I'm positive. Manu Menu. Yeah, I'm positive that that's going to work best. Do I think Andreas Pereira will work in this team? No, I don't think Andreas Pereira is that good. No, correct. Look, I told you want. This isn't a prediction, right? We're not guessing the team. Okay, if we were predicting the team, I wouldn't pick this. I think the front 3 is not bad for a prediction. But you know Bruno's playing, right? You know Bruno's playing. It's not a prediction, so it's this is what we want. And look, so far, I think we're building the best team, the best 11. Like so far, with what the votes that have come in, I think we're in good progress to building the best 11. And the balance of ideas is right, which I think is good. I think it means, you know, you guys are for me understanding the concept here, you know, which is, you know, link up kind of creator, runner, striker, all action, defender. You've got the balance of this 5 really, really good, you know, and I think this is our best options. I think if this is where we ended up, and I'm not saying Bruno can't play, pick this on form. Bruno may be better here than Mount. He might be. We'll see. If we set this team up this way, once Manu comes back and is actually starting and Bruno plays here, he may be incredible. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think that's good. Let's look at left wing back. So I'm gonna. It's interesting. Let's assume for the center backs that we have just for after. Let's assume for the center backs that we have Shaw, Lissandro, Delict, and obviously Mazraoui available. Let's assume we have those 4, and I guess Evans. Let's assume, and then Casemiro is an option too. But let's assume we have all of those, okay, before you vote on this. So Dallo, Mazraoui. I'm just saying assume for the purpose of this, because I'm just curious. I guess I'll put Malacia back in, and I'm going to put Shaw here. What would you like to see at left wing back? I think this is the toughest question right now. Your analysis is superb on Manchester United transfers. I'd like to see a box relook at the academy push. It's a good idea. I want to set something up for this. Is Dallo still winning this? Okay, I was like, holy shit, no way. If Mazraoui wins this, do you want me to do Mazraoui versus Garnacho? Just in case people decide they want to see Garnacho there. Right, I think that's the thing, right? Like, if Shaw's fitness wasn't an issue, I think everybody would pick him, right? Like, if we weren't worried about Shaw getting injured, we would all want to see him at left wing back. I like everybody, right? That's clear. I think we can all agree on that. If we weren't worried about Shaw's fitness, every single one of us would be voting for him for left wing back. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's say Mazraoui won this. I'm just going to do this real quick, simply because we haven't seen it yet, but I am curious what you guys think. Like, do you want to see Garnacho at left wing back to keep Mazraoui in the center back line? I don't think you will do, but I'm just asking. I just wanted to see if this was like actually a close vote at all. Okay, it's not close. All right, I'm going to end it. I'm just going to end it there. All right, so then our center backs are gonna be, okay, let's go. Left center back, let's go Shaw. I'm curious who you guys think is best for this option, by the way. Who did I say our center back options were? De Ligt can be the right center back in this situation. I think he'd be fine. I think Lissandro naturally would be better into the central center back because he's more aggressive, and that central center back steps up a bit more, and because you have to be really good on the ball as well. I think Lissandro would be better at central center back than left center back. It's really close though, this vote. I don't want to influence it too much. We've used Mazraoui, now we can't use him anymore. We want him at left wing back. Like, I think of the available players, Shaw, Lissandro, De Ligt is the best setup for now. For me, but that's literally just my opinion. Still voting? Oh. Oh. Ah. Realize that with the options that we have, if you pick Lissandro at left center back, that means Shaw is the middle center back. Or right center back, I guess. I guess Dallo could be in the right center back options. I'll put him in the vote. Like, I think Mazraoui at left wing back, Dallo right center back is better than Dallo at left wing back and Mazraoui at right center back. Because I think Dallo would be better at right center back than he is at left wing back. I think Dallo would be better at right center back than he would be at left wing back. Mazraoui, I think, is great, and both would be great anywhere we put him. Just a thought. That's kind of my thinking. I'm not sure about that. Dallo on the bench. But he's so mean. Are you guys trying to make this 50-50 now? I can't even end it. I'm going to end it at like 90 votes, so hurry up. Keep voting. Vote. Putting fullbacks as the wide CBs maybe the best. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's just I really want, against Everton, we should have a lot of the ball, right? So I want to see him in more attacking areas. That's why I think I'd like to see Mazraoui at this wing back in this game, because let's get him into the attacking areas more. And in the long term, as Euro comes back, I want Mazraoui more in attacking areas for me. That's my consideration. Calvert-Lewin will run over Martinez? Maybe. It's not like we have a bunch of big players anyway. I mean, De Ligt is our biggest forward right now. 2 more votes and I'm going to end it. This is a damn close vote. 1 more vote and I'm going to end it. Oh, shit. Wait. 89. 1 more. 1 more vote. 90. Stop the count. Stop the count. Oh, my God. That was close. That was tighter than a nun's butthole. All right. That's the closest vote we've ever had. All right, so then at CCB, we go Lissandro, De Ligt, Evans, I guess technically. Oh, wait. Let's throw in Casemiro. Damn, that was tight. I wanted that joke, yeah. Who are you guys putting at right center back in this vote? Are you thinking this through? Are you thinking this through? Are you thinking this through? To be fair, when healthy, I think this is really great because I think you put Maguire at central center back and Euro at right center back. But like, I think so far it's actually the best team, you know? Mazraoui's already on the pitch at left wing back in this vote, guys. We can't vote for him again at right center back. Bruno right center back, he has to play. No, but I think this goes to show the problem, right? Like, if we move Mazraoui out of right center back to left wing back, where he's probably a lot better than Dalot, then we have an issue at right center back. So we're going to have an issue somewhere. It's just where do we, until Euro comes back and Maguire comes back, we've got a non-ideal selection in one position. And that tells you what we need. Do you see the problem? This is how you could figure out what we want in transfers. It's obvious. Because we have a problem in picking this team, which is we're going to make a non-ideal selection at left wing back or at center back, no matter what. I didn't mess this up. You guys voted. You guys voted. This is a selection problem. This is a selection problem. All right, De Ligt is in here. This is the point. This tells you we need players to return or we need to buy a wing back. This is a selection problem that Amorim will be facing, right? That's the truth. All right. Obviously, Lenny Yoro would win this vote if he was available. If he was available. Obviously, Lenny Yoro would win this vote if he's available, but he's not yet. He hasn't been in the team twice. So we can't put him in yet. I made that clear when we started the vote. So we're going to go 2 left footers. We're going to go Dalot. We're going to go Casemiro. And then we're going to pray. So look, it's a non-ideal selection because if we put Mazraoui here, then at left wing back, you're back to Dalot. And then people are crying that Dalot is starting at left wing back, right? So either way, you have a non-ideal situation going on, okay? Look, because that's the reality. And that's what tells you we need somebody. We need a defender really bad. We need especially defenders to return, which would help. But yeah. I think Dalot would be okay here, quite frankly. The passes are smaller. The lengths are smaller. The distances are smaller. It's a little bit of an easier position for him. He's still pretty decent at carrying the ball out of pressure, Dalot is. In my opinion, he's got the work rate and the pace for it. So I think he'd be okay. No, I agree, Johnny. I don't think the drop-off from Maz to Dalot at right center back is that bad. And I think the improvement at left wing back from Mazraoui is huge. I actually think this is okay. Like I think this is okay. I think Dalot at right center back would do fine. He's got the pace, and that is important too for these wide center backs. He is fast, and he will be able to cover. And if he just stays disciplined and doesn't go charging up the pitch, Dalot would invert to middle center back. That was what I was going to say. As long as he's not inverting all game, he'll be fine. And it's closer to his natural position of right back. So it's a much more, it'll be a much more natural fit for him to play here. Because it's basically a right back in defense. I think this is a really easy position for him to play. Let's hope the Christmas turkey. No, Christmas we do ham. We do ham. We do a big giant ass ham, and we cover it in all that glazing, and we cook it, and it's amazing. And it's pre-cooked when you get the hams, because you can't buy raw hams like that. Christmas is a ham, no fucking turkey. All right, well, I will put Dalot here. Look, I think at the moment, you guys are cooking. I think still this would be our best team. And yes, we're having to make compromises. Yes, we are having to make compromises. But I think we only have 2 options left here. And then Ahmad's going to win this pretty easily. 7% is too much, guys. What is wrong with you? Are these meme votes? Are these meme votes? Are you memeing? All right, we'll end that there. Those are Jill Stein votes right there, okay? Okay. I'll give you your Onana by Indir, just because you always cry otherwise. And we can respect by Indir. Protest vote for lack of mass option. Almost 100 likes. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reminding people to hit the like button. Please keep politics out of sports, James. Just shut up and dribble the transfer rumors, huh? All right, Onana wins. Fine. You got to vote for Bayindir. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I agree. This is the best team. I think this is the best team. I think this is our best team until players return, until Lenny Yoro and Maguire return. I think this is the best team. Off the bench, you'd have Garnacho, Xerxes, Casemiro, Lissandro, Eriksson, Evans. Maguire will probably be on the bench. I think this is the best team. The one question, in terms of who's playing right now, the one question is like, obviously, whether Mazraoui and Anthony, but that's a compromise we had to make. That's a compromise we had to make. Look at last week. So the big difference is here, right? We've moved Ahmad to this position. We've moved Mount and Rashford into here, and we don't have Yoro. So, but otherwise, a lot of it is pretty consistent. It's a few of those wide areas and things like that. But look, I think that makes the big difference. I don't think you play Bruno in this because in terms of fit, it makes no sense. If you play Bruno and Mount, you don't have a runner. That's not the play, for me anyway. That's not the play. I'm not saying it has to be Rashford, but Garnacho's been pretty poor in 2 games too. So you need one of them to kick on in form right now. You could pick either one, it would be fine, but you need one of them to get going. In terms of options, I think this is the best team we have right now until players come in. If you put Bruno in here, I think you would spoil the whole balance of the team for me. That's my thought on it. That's me personally. You may disagree. That's fine. But I wouldn't, because I don't think that fits the balance of the team. I think the chat voted for the right balance in this team right now. You've got opposite foot wing backs. You've got the right balance in all of these players right now. And when Maguire and Euro come back, you can shift this around. You play this on form. You pick this on form. And you try to get somebody going. I don't think Bruno's been particularly good or bad. I don't think that Garnacho's been good. I don't think Rashford's been good. So you don't know right now. You know what I mean? Bruno where Kabi is in Manu forward. I don't think that's better. I've seen people suggest that a lot. But again, you're still losing the runner. So you still need a runner and a Højlund. Who's captain? Good question. Okay. Captain. Let's say if this was the team, who would be captain? I'll give you a few options. These are the 4 options I could see that could be picked as captains based on just their experience. I think De Ligt or Shaw makes the most sense for captain. I don't know why people have such a big thing about Shaw not being a captain. He's got a great attitude and is really well liked and looked upon by people. I actually have no idea. Whenever I do that, like people are voting for him, but some people just hate the concept of Shaw being a captain. I don't really know why. I don't understand it. I think he's also vocal and he's a good dressing room guy. I think people really do get the wrong idea about Shaw because of his injury issues. I'm not putting Rashford in the selection for captain because he's not vocal enough. I like De Ligt and Shaw as captains. I like both of them. And I think Ugarte is an instructor. I don't want a goalkeeper as a captain either. That's why I didn't give it to Onana. I hate goalkeeper captains. No offense to Onana. I just hate it. I don't think the goalkeeper should ever be captain. Just like ever. I think it should be a midfielder or a defender pretty much always. You know? I think Ugarte's been very, very vocal. I think Ugarte's been very, very vocal as well and understands the system and been helpful to organize people, which is why I put him in there. And Mount has been captain in the past, I think. At Chelsea, was he for a little bit? I don't know. But yeah, fair enough. You guys voted for mostly De Ligt. I understand Neuer does it, but Neuer is one of the most unique people in football. All right. Yeah, Mazraoui could have been an option, but yeah, he could be. He could be. Ugarte speaks English. Mazraoui could be, I guess. But yeah, he hasn't been here. Anyway, I know that language-wise, De Ligt and Shaw both speak incredibly well for obvious reasons. But yeah. Yeah, Neuer could play. I put Neuer in Dallow's spot for us, you know? I would put him there. Yeah, Ugarte speaks English well. Anyway, yeah, look, good vote for me. I'd be happy with this team. And then just for Sunday, I'd be happy with this team. And then I would just move it around based on form. But I think for me, Onana, Shaw, Ugarte, and Højlund, and Ahmad, and Mazraoui. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think if you start with those 6 players every game, when Shaw is healthy, he should play. He's incredible. Mazraoui, Shaw, Onana, Ugarte, Ahmad, and Højlund. If you start with those 6 players every game on your team sheet, and then you build around them, and then you add in who's in form in the other positions around them, I think you have a good starting point. And hopefully we'll get to more than 6, you know? Hopefully we'll start to see more than 6 where I'm confident in them as players, right? In this system. Hopefully we'll end up with more than 6. Hopefully some other players kick on. When Kabi comes in, hopefully he's incredible. And we say, yeah, every game, Kabi in. So that makes 7. Yeah, Euro comes in. Every game, Euro in. That makes 8. You know, and one of the forwards kicks on. And we can say, yes, every game it's Mount. That's 9. I hope that gets to that point. But I think right now there's 6 players. I would say if they're fit, they should play every single, you know, not, you have to rotate. But they'd be this on my team sheet for every game. Every game. And that's Mazraoui, Shaw, Ugarte, Ahmad, Onana, and Højlund. I think you say those are your guys, and then you pick on form for the rest of these positions and see who you can get going until they really nail it down. That's how I see it. All right, it's been a long video. Holy shit, it's been an hour and 40 minutes. I gotta go. It's actually a day off, so I'm gonna go get to to family stuff. Not abandon my wife with my son at home. And I will see you all later. I'll be on the watch along. I got to schedule that. I will be here for the watch along on Sunday. It's at 6:30 a.m. for me, which is which is a weird time. It's 1:30, not 12:30. That's a weird time, isn't it? I'm glad. It gives me an extra hour because 5:30 is brutal. 6:30, I usually wake up before then anyway. Yeah. See you there. I don't know if I'll be here early enough for a pregame show, but I will try. And then either way, I'll be at the we'll be there for the game. So enjoy your weekend. Enjoy everything. Good luck to you all. Appreciate all the support, and I will see you all later. Have a good one.